Okay. Hi, I'm Siobhan Sarna, founder of SIBO SOS and the co-creator of the SIBO Recovery Roadmap course. My co-creator is the incredible Dr. Allison Siebecker. Hello, Dr. Siebecker.
Hello.
And it's a pleasure to work with Allison because not only are we friends, but she and I have a shared mission of helping to heal the planet, which may sound lofty to you all, but that's that really is our legitimate goal. We both have a very strong value system of service and of giving. And when we met, little did we know that 5-6 years later, we would still be working together in this particular role of helping people to resolve their health issues, and certainly in the world of SIBO. She is a SIBO specialist, legit. She is one of the most in-demand speakers on this topic. She's also sharing clinical ideas with us today about what has worked for her in her many thousands of clients over time. If you are a professional like a coach, a doctor, you know what I'm saying, like medical professional, but it can even be a health coach. We love health coaches. She does have a course called the SIBO Pro course that we can share with you information about. And we're going to be doing a special webinar on that in a couple of weeks, or maybe it's next week. I can't remember. But this course is for patients. And so it is specifically designed for those of you who are patients and even advanced patients like I was. This was the course that I wish had existed when I first got diagnosed with SIBO. So with that being said, Dr. Siebecker, will you tell us just a little bit about your story while I pull up some stuff I want to show everybody, and then we'll get to questions.
Yes, welcome everyone. So glad you're here. I myself have dealt with, I'm a patient as well as a doctor. I'm a SIBO patient. So I have had gastrointestinal issues since I was quite young, since I was about 5. I wasn't born with them. Struggled my whole life, went to a million doctors like everyone else, right? Went to medical school. Went to my teachers, but no one had this information about SIBO yet. It was just barely getting going, started in around 2000. And anyway, when I found out about it, I was able to get much better really fast, which is amazing. I devoted myself to studying it and devoted my whole career to it so that every patient I saw had SIBO or was suspected of having SIBO. And then very soon, I started sharing everything I was learning, like I'm going to do today, to help everyone, to help patients and practitioners, because I'm not the inventor and discoverer of all of this information, right? It all comes from phenomenal researchers. I have helped put some of it together into a good system. And so I'm so grateful, I'm sure we all are, to all of the doctors and scientists who have devoted themselves to helping those of us with this seemingly mysterious condition that now the light has been shed on.
So shout out to Dr. Mark Pimentel and Dr. Ali Rezai and everyone at Cedars-Sinai.
Dr. Weinstock and so many other doctors.
Sandberg Lewis.
Yes.
Gurvich. So we are definitely, in a way, a collective because of all the summits I do, getting people's information out to the world. It really fulfills that mission. And this is today about you and your SIBO. And I want to just quickly share my screen and talk about the kitty cat in the room, which is this kitty. You'll find that we are total like geeks. So forgive us, and we're cornballs. I'll speak for myself. But so if that turns you off, namaste, it's all cool. But if you're like, yeah, I want to be with positive people who want to do good in the world and get me better, hello, you're with the right group. So be nice or be gone is part of our mantra. It's a public forum, basically. So that's it. We're just very protective of the good people and respectful of the good people that want to be well. So there you go. Moving on. We've had very good luck. May it continue. Please do yourself a favor and turn off distractions. Hardest part of the entire training. Chat box, I've already covered it. If you have a question, put it in the Q&A box. Chat is just for, like, if we ask you a question or you want a link or you're having a tech issue, Clarissa's standing by to help you with that. Another kitty. Hello, kitty. And then this is the SIBO Recovery Protocol Quick Start Guide that everyone will be getting if you stay until the end. Some of you have already come to the webinars and received this, but this is the highlight of, actually the foundation and highlight of the protocol that Dr. Siebecker has so successfully used. Remember the story she told about how our dear friend, who is a gut health expert, has been having a conversation with Allison and said, it's like you have this like chart or something that you follow for every SIBO patient. And he was being kind of sarcastic. And she's like, yeah, I do. Wait a minute. What? You don't know about it? And so that really put a lot of fire under our butts to continue our work. And we realized that even people who are super smart don't necessarily have this information. And so thus, thanks for being here. She is an award winner from her peers, a Lifetime Achievement Award, because of her advocacy and because of all that she has done to help perpetuate this information and help people. And then that's the book I wrote, Healing SIBO. We might be giving a couple of those away today. We're adorable in our cat sweatshirts. Moving on. We've spent a lot of time together. That's not why you're here. I do want to say stay until the end. We have, for those of you who have not gotten these bonuses yet, if you stay until the end, we do have them for you. It is a SIBO recovery roadmap I just showed you. The SIBO-friendly recipes, including Dr. Siebecker's new pecan recipe and brownies and cake. The Elemental Diet commercial formulas, if you don't know what the Elemental Diet is, we'll explain, but she had made a chart or a list of all of the commercial formulations, so it's very convenient. Some have links, some have discounts. And then the Quick Start SIBO Diet Guide. Remember, she's the one who created the SIBO specific food guide, which the biphasic diet is based upon with her good friend, Dr. Jacoby. And then that's the biphasic part. And then we have a SIBO IMO breath test mini series and guide free course that we're giving to everybody who stays until the end. Now, if you did decide to enroll today, you are also going to get the liver detox masterclass with Dr. Ann Hill. I don't know if it's a masterclass or an interview, but either way, it is loaded. She's amazing. And if you've ever wondered about like, how come I'm feeling toxic? It's definitely a good idea to get that. Here are the favorite recipes. And that's the testing guide. I'm going quickly because I have another cat to show you. And if you do decide to buy by midnight, this is very important because we're going to get into the Q&A. And if you do enroll in the SIBO Recovery Roadmap course that we've been talking about and emailing you about, there are 7 Q&As that you have access to as an enrollee. Now, this is very different than a lot of courses. Also, Dr. Siebecker updates the course when new information comes out periodically. Thank God it's happening and we're getting new information all the time. We have a one-on-one with Dr. Pimentel coming up, which we'll share with you all. So November 8th, however, is one just for this cohort, just for this semester. So, and somebody said to me, Siobhan, don't put the dates out there because people will say, I can't go to that one, so I don't want to enroll. And the whole point is to get you enroll is not so that Allison and I can go to Hawaii. It is so you can get well, okay? That is our mission. And this is a phenomenal opportunity, again, full of juicy information that will help move you forward. So what I said was, you know what? Everyone can pre-submit their questions. So I am going to put the dates out there. So don't overthink it. You can pre-submit your questions. We have a whole system in place for it. And then you can search the transcript for your name or a keyword and find if you're like, oh, I don't want to watch everybody's, even though there's gold in those questions and answers. We did make it easy for you to search so that you can find like, hey, I have a question about Prokinetics. Type in Prokinetic and everything said about Prokinetics should come up. You're also getting these amazing bonuses when you enroll right now, cooking classes, mindset work with Dr. Megan Taylor. The whole thing's based on that. Here's some slides. And I definitely want you to save the money. It's $201 off. And here's some testimonials. We'll talk more about that later. I want to get to those questions. So, Dr. Siebecker, do your stretches. Let's go.
Okay.
Do your stretches. Joan, I had parasites many years ago. I do not have parasites now. How can that affect my SIBO and recovery?
If you don't have them now, I don't see an issue.
Okay, great. That's awesome. What is your favorite motility prokinetic and one you should add after the RX treatment or during? Thank you. So thankful for the two of you. We'll right back at you, Micheline.
I don't have a favorite because they're all good. And we need to have a lot of tools in our toolbox, so to speak, because every individual is different. This is the kind of answer that usually patients hate. I apologize, but it is the actual truth. I use them all, and I'm so glad I have them all so I can pick and choose what's right for each person. And it depends on the severity of the case. someone's allergies, their sensitivities, etc. So I'm so sorry. It's like, I know it's kind of like a joke, but it's like asking me to pick between my kids or something. I don't have kids. All my cats, which is, like, I love them all. They're all good.
And also, if you've tried one and it fails, it's nice because there are others. That's the thing about SIBO, that I've thought about many times in my dark days of like not knowing what to do. And then when I found Dr. Siebecker and I found these solutions, that they're actually quite a few. It was shocking. Like they're actually a lot that people can do DIY. And now even with the SIBO breath tests, you can order them yourselves. And that's all covered in the course. But also, we're never saying don't work with your practitioner. We want you to work with your practitioner. But there's a lot of responsibility that you can proactively empower yourself with and take yourself without having to wait. And then when you show up for those appointments, if you're, feeling like, yeah, this is a good match for someone to help you, you're like 3 appointments ahead because you already got so much going. And sometimes you also do have to train your practitioner. Okay.
Siobhan, I just want to say, I love what you said there to that question is just, are you asking what my favorite is? Because like maybe you tried something and it didn't work and you want to know what's going to work best. You just have to keep trying things.
Yeah. And there's a whole section of it in the course, and we talk about them all the time in other webinars we've done. Laura H., what does well managed mean to you? No symptoms at all, periodic symptoms with a trouble food, or mild symptoms all the time? Laura H., great question. These are all great questions.
Super great. Yeah, what it would mean to me is that the person's symptoms are at a level they can live a sort of a happy, productive life. They're not really getting in the way a lot. It doesn't mean they won't get in the way a little bit. Like well managed means like you've learned to manage with, because well managed would mean to me you have ongoing chronic SIBO, right? Because there'd be really nothing to manage if you were in the group that there's a smaller group of people we treat and they get completely all the way better and they never have to think about SIBO again, which is phenomenal. And then a larger group still have underlying causes that continue to cause problems and give SIBO, and we have to be well managed. So it's not like it's like you learn to manage what is still there, which is mild, very mild. That's what it means to me. Siobhan, what do you think it means?
I like that a lot. The holidays are coming up, and what happens in the Facebook group, I'm going to tie this in tightly a little bow in a second, is that there's a mood shift starting in about 2 weeks, and people get really cranky in there. And usually it's like the most mild-mannered, wonderful group, but I've noticed a trend over the past 4 years. And I think we start to feel that extra pressure of new year. Is it going to be the way it was last year? There's a lot going on right now in the world of politics that are stressful.
Also all of the holiday foods that maybe we react to. So now we think we should be able to eat them, whatever.
So. Exactly. So we're right now in the sweet spot of really taking control of our lives and being able to be in a better space so soon. And I know a lot of you may not even believe me, but trust me, it's there. So for me, it's not having the extra stress, not worrying about what am I going to eat? And if I decide to have something that's like extra garlic on some gluten plus bread or something, and I, am just going to feel it.
But then you'll know, like for instance, what we went over.
Know what to do.
Yeah, in the webinar, and what's, in much greater detail in the course with more options is, okay, so you choose to have more garlic. Now you know what to do to handle it so you're not suffering when you choose that, because you have all these symptomatic controllers. Yeah, and well managed also means you're treating any relapses when they happen, and you're on your ongoing prokinetic and some form of a diet, and you've gotten good education on that. You know what to do. You found your match, etc. So, you're doing the things you need to do daily. Like, for instance, let's say you've never been able to completely get rid of your constipation, but you take magnesium every night. So you're not constipated. You're not really ever constipated, right, but you would have it if you didn't take those things. That's what well-managed means, right? You're doing things to manage everything. So you're not really experiencing much trouble. You know what to do if you go off the rails, etc.
And this is mainly for people like, so for some of you may be like, hey, I don't even want that. That's fine. But if you have an underlying cause that can't be resolved, like antibodies from food poisoning, like I did from when I was 5, that's my life that we just are talking about. And
Yeah, thank God there's options for people
right,
like this, right?
right. There are a lot of people who are just going to get it resolved and have negative SIBO breath tests and go back to normal. So I just wanted to make
Yeah,
that.
there are.
Eric, how many rounds of neomycin/xifaxan or rifaximin can be done if there's not enough relief from intestinal methanogen overgrowth?
You can do multiple rounds of that. Just very briefly, neomycin often gives people or becomes resistant, right? Antibiotic resistance with neomycin. However, rifaximin, when you take it together, it helps prevent that. So therefore, you should be okay for repeating. General caveat, in general, people with SIBO tend to become resistant or tolerant to what they take, even when all the studies say that doesn't happen. It can happen clinically. So you might find if you keep repeating the same thing, it's not working over time, and then you switch to something else. But generally, you can repeat it multiple times.
Okay. Yep. And then you can go back to it maybe when the other.
I mean, basically, the quick answer is you can repeat it until you find, if you find it's actually not working anymore, which sometimes happens for people.
Right.
And then you can come back to it and it will work again.
Okay, Ute, what are prokinetics? I think we answered this the last time you were here, but it helps to prevent relapse. I'll let you do a quick answer on that.
Yeah, these are medicines that can be prescription or natural, over the counter or prescription, that amplify. This is the official definition. They amplify and coordinate gastrointestinal motility. They make sure everything is moving downward in the way that they're supposed to. They are not laxatives. And because they are not, their definition is not to produce a bowel movement, so we can use them with diarrhea patients. The whole point is to stimulate the migrating motor complex in the small intestine in those of us who have SIBO, which is the kind of the main thing we need to have happen. It clears bacteria out of our small intestine.
Right. So we don't have SIBO, small intestine bacterial overgrowth. I just connect those dots.
And
right?
these, I'm so glad you asked, because these are one of the biggest missing steps in the overall treatment plan. They are essential. Dr. Pimentel discovered this. They are incredibly helpful for SIBO patients. They're helpful even if you're going to be one of the people that just gets, all the way better, just because most people need a few rounds of treatment. They help during that process, and we cover them completely in the course. Go through each and every one that are your options. I didn't say this for the other person who was asking my favorites, all the pros and cons, etc.
So Hannah is saying, please speak more on IMO, intestinal methanogen overgrowth, and how it arises, where it comes from. I'm having a hard time finding as much info in it as SIBO. Thank you for all your research. So you might want to do the nomenclature talk as well as talk about.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. So IMO stands for intestinal methanogen overgrowth. And this is none other than methane SIBO. So for all these years, up until about a year ago, we just called that methane SIBO. It's when the methane gas is the predominant gas, and it's an overgrowth of methanogens, which are actually archaea, not bacteria. They're very similar microorganism to bacteria, but because they're not actually bacteria, the name small intestinal bacterial overgrowth was actually incorrect, right? Like factually incorrect. And so we all knew we needed to change the name. So it got a new name, intestinal methanogen overgrowth. It, it has different organism that's overgrown, thus it requires different treatment. Now the question, where does it come from? Basically, I think you're asking like what causes it? All the same things that cause SIBO. I mean, it is basically SIBO conceptually. It's got a new name. So it's all the same things. Something that might be confusing to some people is that there have been studies showing that food poisoning, which is the most common cause of SIBO, is more likely to cause the hydrogen, and now we know hydrogen sulfide type of SIBO, but it can still cause the methane type of SIBO. It's just a much smaller percent. So Siobhan, she doesn't mind sharing her information. She's a person like that, who has had food poisoning and gotten a methane overgrowth. Many of my patients have. So anyway, that's just one little cause. So we cover all the causes of SIBO in a whole module in the course. So you can get all your information about the causes.
And what's the best time span between rounds of antibiotics? And the question becomes retesting, like if you
And these timelines are really important. And if you look closely, you'll see them indicated on the SIBO recovery roadmap algorithm chart. But a lot of these, like when to retest and such, I think the best timing is within about 2 weeks. That's also when you should be doing your retesting. The idea here is that when you stop an antimicrobial, you need to figure out, like, is the person better or not? Is the SIBO gone or not, right? If it's not gone, we're really still in the middle of treating it. It's kind of like if you had like a sinus infection or some kind of infection and the doctor gave you, let's just say 7 days of antibiotics, but you took 2, right? You would expect maybe you start to feel better, and then you would expect after a day or 2, you then feel worse. It's that concept. So if you are still positive for SIBO, because we know multiple rounds are often needed because we just can't do it all in one round, right? You don't want to wait too long. And the most typical time for this backsliding is at about 2 weeks. So that is the best time to start your next round, is before 2 weeks. You don't want to wait. I do not recommend waiting a month. That is what is common in the gastroenterology world. They like to wait a month, but their thinking is quite different on this than mine. And I could go through all the reasoning, but that's too complex for here.
Okay. I do have someone who's popped into the Q&A box and asked for how to order the course. So Clarissa, would you do me a favor and pop that into the chat? It's $201 off. I just have to do the math. Right. It's $298. So, and people have asked, do you have ongoing access? Yes. It's not like we're going to take it away in a year or 6 months or whatever. And you do also have the 7 upcoming Q&As through 2023. And what we do is we invite everyone who's ever been a student of the SIBO Recovery Roadmap course to all the Q&As, except that one coming up November 8th. That's just for this cohort, which is a great chance to connect with Dr. Siebecker. Someone's asking if Dr. Siebecker can be reached. She is on sabbatical. She's or hiatus writing her book. I've pulled her out to do this course and this webinar and this Q&A and these other Q&As. So this is the way to get information directly from her. And by the way, for those Q&As, depending on the size, sometimes you can just pop on and talk to her directly. It depends on the crowd. But so I just wanted to mention that. Okay. From Jennifer, I'm so glad you asked this. Where do you look next if you tested positive for hydrogen, SIBO, treated it with rifaximin, cleared the SIBO, but you don't...
Wait. Sorry. Yeah. I got distracted. Start from the beginning. If you...
positive hydrogen SIBO.
Hydrogen.
Rifaximin, cleared it, but you don't see improvements in symptoms. Most of my GI tests are negative. MRI, enterography, upper endoscopy, gastric emptying study, fecal calprotectin, etc. I am antivinculin positive. So I know it's likely I have some form of post-infectious IBS.
Okay, so that means you have, unfortunately, currently a forever underlying cause of SIBO when you have the positive vinculin. I'm so sorry to tell you. My first recommendation would be to do the TrioSmart breath test so you can see if you have hydrogen sulfide. Because maybe you've already had that, you can let us know. But if you just got the test that checks for hydrogen and methane, which is all tests except for TrioSmart, then that wasn't tested. And we know now from new research that you can get hydrogen or hydrogen sulfide type SIBO more commonly from food poisoning, which is what the positive vinculin indicates. So that'd be my first choice for you.
Okay, Brad, what precautions should someone have with previous resistant C. diff that resulted in fecal transplant? This is my situation. I have had my SIBO symptoms since, but was only recently diagnosed. It's been 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, that's a common cause of SIBO actually is C. diff, C. difficile infection. The general precaution is not to use pharmaceutical antibiotics in your treatment. Now, I will just say as a caveat, rifaximin has been used to treat C. diff, right? But still, the general precaution is don't use pharmaceutical antibiotics in your treatment. So you can use herbal antibiotics, and probably best of all would be elemental diet, because it avoids any kind of issue like that.
Okay. Okay, Barbara, is it an indication that you do not have SIBO if you do not bloat when eating at all, or even cauliflower, cabbage, etc.?
Well, strangely, no, because although it's the most common symptom, there are people, and I have had patients that don't have bloating, but have SIBO, and they're troubled by the other symptoms, abdominal pain or discomfort, diarrhea, constipation, acid reflux, anxiety, etc. So no, you would have to get testing to find out for sure.
Okay.
SIBO testing.
SIBO testing. And
But by the way, wonderful for you. You can eat those foods without bloating.
Yeah, seriously. Right. How do you treat hydrogen sulfide SIBO? Now, there is a section of that Dr. Siebecker updated and put into the course. So Dr.
we went over it in the webinars that I just did. So I will just say, I'll refer you back to see that recording. And you can also, if you're part of the course, you can see it there.
And those recordings, including this one, are going away tonight at midnight, just like the price change, and they're getting moved right into the course. So be sure to do that post haste if you're not going to join us. And by the way, speaking of which, I went to my library and I have all these juicy books that I want to give away to the next 4 people that sign up for the course. So I have my book, Healing SIBO. I have the Lymphatic Rescue Summit transcripts. I have the Liver Gallbladder Rescue Summit transcripts. Oh, suitable for framing. And I have the Dental Health Connection transcripts. So I have my little indicator on, and for the next 4 people, as a matter of fact, because you're the first ones, you can actually choose. We'll email you and ask you which books you want. You have to be in the United States, because I'm going to have to put them in my pink padded envelopes and send them to you. So that's just a little extra incentive from Karen. Does Linzess in a small dose, like we do with Motegrity, work on the migrating motor complex? Or
go ahead.
Yeah, or just as a laxative? Insurance has changed, and my GI says Linzess does the same thing as Motegrity.
Oh, such a good question, because no, the answer is no. And I run into this all the time. I don't understand why, but gastroenterologists are not well educated on the actual mechanisms of action and true pharmacology of these medicines. It is so common. I mean, I teach continuing education on the pharmacology of Prokinetics and such. So, it's part of my job to know these things, right? No, it doesn't. Linzess, it basically increases secretion through active transport of fluid into the large intestine, which is the job of a laxative. It does absolutely nothing to stimulate the migrating motor complex. I am so sorry. It won't cover that option. So you're going to need to use a prokinetic. If your gastroenterologist won't prescribe you one, then there are the over-the-counter ones, that I've discussed in the past, and I have them all for you in the course.
Okay, so Sojourner's also asking about Prokinetics. You have recommended using Prokinetic, prucalopride, or now in this United States, Motegrity, immediately after SIBO treatment at a dose of 0.5 milligrams, going higher if needed. How will we know if we need a higher dose? Also, you recommend taking a Prokinetic for a certain length of time, 3 months, but longer if needed. Again, how can we tell if we need more? Yeah, it's a great question. They're all great. Again, go ahead.
So, when you're taking it right after you finish your antimicrobial treatment, because we use it no matter what, antibiotic, herbal antibiotic, elemental diet. What we're initially doing is using it to just sort of hold the gains we made while we're assessing and deciding what's needed, because maybe you just need another round. Maybe the SIBO is still there. So in that situation, you don't necessarily increase. You don't, because you're just going to go right on to your next round, right? Now, what if your doctor's timing doesn't work out and you don't go right on to your next round? This is if your SIBO is still positive. And so you're just going to be on the prokinetic in a holding pattern till you can get your next round. If you relapse, that might indicate to you need a higher dose. But the thing of it is, in this scenario, what you really just need is another round of antimicrobial treatment. Like I described earlier, if you stop your sinus infection treatment after 2 days or something like that. So where we're really talking about this is once your test is negative, and now you're in the prevention phase, which is for the minimum of 3 months. So what you want to do is just take a look at when and if you're relapsing. And if you're relapsing too soon, which really would be around 3 months, that's when you think you might need a stronger prokinetic. The minimum 3 months is because the most common average time for relapse is about 2.5 months. So 3 months gets you past that. And that's at first, that's like right in the beginning, right? So, and if all of this seems too complex, it probably is. I would recommend you to go and watch the course where I explain it all with the proper timing. We're just doing quick here. So how do you know you need longer? I would stay on it for 3 months just to get you past that average relapse time. And then at that point, you could begin going off of it and seeing if you're done. You will know you need it ongoing if you have a more forever underlying cause of SIBO. And once again, we discussed that thoroughly in a module in the course. So it's sort of a matter of, do you already know you have a chronic SIBO case? Then you're going to need to be on it longer. If you don't know, then you stop it soon after 3 months and see how you do.
We have what I want to do right now, because a lot of you are asking questions that are about the course. And quickly, I just want to share my screen and take you literally into the course itself. It is very straightforward. Dr. Siebecker has taught at university level for years, and she's very, very organized, and she's a beautiful teacher and communicator. So you pop in, it's course overview, where you are on the roadmap, testing, diet, and antibiotics. I literally haven't planned this, so I'm just popping in. They're short. Some of them are very, very short, because we know you're busy and you just want to get in and get out on occasion. Some people watch it straight through. But there's test interpretation, diet Q&A, 6 hours, I'm just saying. It was a long one. Pharmaceutical antibiotics, and then her slides are fantastic. Let's see. Come to mama. There it is. SIBO antibiotics and doses. I mean, really, this takes you through it. My old boyfriend's a video editor. He's a professional. He works for the city of Sarasota and still really good friends with all of us. And he did all the editing, and it was really beautifully done. So 2 cameras, professionally done. We're not playing here. This is about the elemental diet. So we literally hauled out a bunch of formulations. We talked about how to do it, how to eat after you're done doing it. Like, we really are granular in this. And that's why we're so excited to be able to share it with you, especially with the $201 off. Okay, and by the way, thanks to Marlo for picking up the course. It's great to have you. We'll see you there, certainly, in all the Q&As, etc. So just email us at info@sibosos.com and tell me which book you want. And Clarissa, can we offer up the Dental Health Connection, the Lymphatic Rescue Summit, Digestion SOS docuseries? My gosh, I've been busy. Liver and Gallbladder Rescue Summit, my book, and then those are your choices. I'm not going to be able to offer choices because I don't have that many of all of them, but Marlo, you definitely have your choice of. Okay, let's see. I have methane in the entrance of the large intestine after the breath test and nutritional protocol. Second test indicated that it was worse. Is there anything I can do? So are you saying, Sue, that you also treated it and it came back still positive and even more positive? So you can pop into the Q&A box. And
so methane, it's a little different than, it's another reason why it got a different name, intestinal methanogen overgrowth, instead of small intestinal methanogen overgrowth, because we know that the overgrowth of methanogens and the methane gas can be in the small or large intestine. So it's a little different than that. That's why I had to change the name also. So that's just still positive IMO right there. Or old name, methane SIBO, except we know it goes for large intestine too. So you have IMO still. Multiple treatment rounds are typically needed for people. Or maybe if you had officially cleared it, now it's relapsed, which is also extremely common. Were you on a prokinetic to make sure it didn't come back, some form of a SIBO diet? What you need to do now is treat it, right? So just, all of those treatment options I mentioned in the webinar for methane, just use one of those and treat it, and keep treating it and retesting until you get negative, and then make sure you're on your prevention strategies.
Okay. And Magda, I just private chatted you something, and thanks to Julie for joining us. It's wonderful to have you. So email us at info@SIBO.SOS and pick your book. And then we go over in the course how to talk to your doctor. The studies that are showing you the different efficacies of the treatments are in the course as well. So what I did was I printed them out and I took them to my GI. And also we talk about telemedicine. We got a list of people there who are speakers and who do telemedicine. A lot of them do, who are truly experts. So it's really all nicely in there. Okay. Wow. Betty, you have a long one. I'm going to do my best here. I have methane SIBO. I have been controlling my symptoms with FODMAP diet to some extent. I'm still quite bloated at night. Rifaximin would cost me $650 at the pharmacy for a 2-week supply. So I've opted for herbal antibiotics. Okay, cool. Plus they do have a patient assistant program that's in the course, just so you know.
For rifaximin.
Over that for rifaximin. I have tried berberine, neem, Alimax, and Atrantil, and every one of these has made me feel totally sick after one dose. So I can't even imagine taking 3 doses a day. Oregano oil is the only one I haven't tried yet, but that's not for methane. Or is it? I was diagnosed with lupus in 75, took prednisone for 33 years and had 3 rounds of chemotherapy until my nephrologist put me on an immunosuppressant, Cellcept, for a year. I'm so sorry. It took away all my lupus symptoms and I was able to get off the prednisone. I have been symptom-free and drug-free for over 12 years. However, I have polyneuropathy from chemo. My nervous system is very sensitive and I think all these herbs work against me sometimes. Of course, I'm not sure, but I do get burning and tingling.
Okay, so first off, when people are sensitive, meaning you just said you kind of have a more sensitive nervous system. So I'm just going to generally use the category sensitive. Herbs are a great trigger to that. And that is because they are a full, whole plant, right? And they have many, many constituents and many ways they can affect us. So sensitive people often don't tolerate herbal antibiotics very well. And typically pharmaceutical antibiotics are tolerated better. Some of them, like rifaximin in particular, have anti-inflammatory properties as well. So do herbs, but they have this full spectrum action. So I just wanted to state that this is not unusual at all. One thing you could think about trying, well, obviously elemental diet is an option, right? But aside from that, you could try oregano if you tolerate it, right? You haven't tried it yet, right? So with either neomycin or metronidazole or nitazoxanide, which is a linea. So those 3 antibiotics can work on archaea or methanes, methanogens. So you could try those in combination with the oregano. First, you'd have to see if you can handle the oregano.
Thanks, Jill Power. We'll get you a book. It's great to have you here. I can't wait to see you in the other Q&As too. I want to go back to Sue for a second because she said she got treated and got worse. Did you talk about pissed off bacteria syndrome, Dr. Siebecker?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Or pissed off methanogen syndrome. Either way, this is when you do your first treatment with whatever killing agent you're using, any of our 3 treatment types. And either your symptoms get worse or your test scores, the gas actually gets worse. Right. And so Dr. Sandberg, Lewis, and I early on, when we started seeing this pattern, we just called it pissed off bacteria or pissed off methanogen syndrome. Basically, it's like we're riling them up. They're in the process of being attacked, right? And they're maybe, they're screaming or something, or who knows, they're just upset. And it seems to be sort of an artifact, so to speak, of the treatment process. What we do is we just continue treating and it comes down. So it can go up and then it comes down, symptoms and or gas. So you just keep going and it almost always resolves. And I do want to say that we've been teaching this, we kind of jokingly named it like this, right? And we've been teaching this for years and years. And then Dr. Razai, who is part of the head of the research lab with Dr. Pimentel, actually did like a little in-office study and said that he could like officially observe this as true. So we were vindicated and validated.
Just got diagnosed with methane SIBO and GI is willing to let me do whatever. Would like to try Atrantil and possibly berberine, but unclear on what milligram and dose of berberine. So those are, all that information is in the course. We don't want to get too dosagey right now, but that's, you want to talk about Atrantil for a second?
Atrantil is a 3-herb combination. It's not a very strong killer. More so what it does is it has this ability to affect an enzyme in the methanogen organism so they can't make methane. And it's the methane gas itself that acts like a gasotransmitter, or like kind of like a neurotransmitter, and affects the motility and causes constipation in the intestines. So what we really want to do is just not have that gas there. So it works a little bit differently. And what I'll say is, because it works differently, I mentioned this before in the class, it's a bit hit or miss. It hits really well for some people and it's incredible. And then for other people, it doesn't quite match up. So, you just have to give it a go. Honestly, it can be like that with any of our treatments. You don't know if it's going to be the best match for you, but that one more so. So, but then it can be incredible. So that's the thing with Atrantil.
Here's the thing, guys. I see your questions. We have hundreds of questions. And I'm just going to be real blunt for a second, in a loving way. A direct is a better way of saying that. I spent thousands and thousands of dollars. I mean, a ridiculous. Joan, welcome to the course. We're glad to have you. A ridiculous amount of money. I'm embarrassed to talk about it, honestly, but it is what it was. And this is $298, which is not nothing. I am well aware of that. I am well aware, but it will ultimately, I believe, save you time for sure, energy, definitely, and it will save you money. I really believe that. So think about it. If you can't afford it, great. We'd love to have you while it's on sale. It is a 2-payment. If you wanted to do that, you can split the payments up. And it's not like we charge extra. I think it's $1 extra. If you wanted to split the payments up, I know I just looked at a course and it was like $500 extra if I wanted to like split the payments up. I was like, I don't like that banking. But we want, this is really about making this as easy as possible for you. We're going to give you that support with the additional Q&As, 7 of them. November 8th is one that is just for this cohort, as I've mentioned. And actually, we have another one that's open to the previous students as well on October 26th. So that's like, what's today? That's like in 8 days. So it's an opportunity to really get a handle on this. I see your questions. I know exactly where you are. I have been there. This is your opportunity. Sharon, great to have you. We'll look forward to seeing you there in the Q&As. This is an opportunity to relieve a lot of stress. And to
can I just pop in here and say something? The idea is that so many people, they're piecemealing it, right? You feel anxious, you're desperate to feel better, and you just have all these questions and you're popping. It's better to have a system. It's better to have a system. That's what the flow chart is, and that's what the course is. The course is just guiding you through it, and you can pop in and just get whatever question you want answered, but it's all systematically there for you. It's meant to reduce that overwhelm and that sort of confusion and disconnectedness of all the questions and what you're wondering about, right, with SIBO. Yeah. So
Karen's saying I'm an original roadmap participant. It's so worth it. Awesome. So Sharon, Isabel, Joan, great to have you. I'll keep going with these books, you guys. If I have another stash of them, so let's just keep going. You'll just have to email us and let us know. Do you want, this is a bonus just for right now. Do you want the Dental Health Connection transcripts? That was a phenomenal summit I did recently on biological dentistry. I'll let Clarissa tell you, but it's the Liver Gallbladder Rescue Summit. My book, which by the way, they don't give you the books for free when you write a book. I just want to tell you, I paid for it. This is the Liver Gallbladder transcripts. These are the books I bought. I got it at wholesale, but still. There's another Liver Gallbladder, and we also have the Lymphatic Rescue Summit. I don't have as many of those. These are treasure troves of information. So we're throwing those in as a bonus to the next few of you who decide to purchase and join us. And in the course, you'll see me actually consume some iberogast, Catherine. She's asking about the details of the best use of iberogast. You'll see that video because I'm holding my nose. So go ahead and talk about the best use of iberogast, if you would, and what it is for people who don't know.
It's a 9-herb liquid combination that's been, it was created a long time ago. It's been in use for over 50 years. There are like, 60 plus studies on it, because it's a wonderful synergistic formula that's basically like your classic medicine cabinet for any digestive symptom that bothers you. And it's been studied for all kinds of diseases. So the way we use it primarily in SIBO is as a prokinetic. So we use it between rounds, and once you're clear of your SIBO to prevent relapse, to help prevent relapse. But we can also use it for symptoms. That's how I discussed using it in the webinar I just gave you all, the training.
Okay. Let's see. Louise is saying, I took Allison's pro course and compare every course to it. Loved the clear format, the short segments. I was so sorry when it was over. Highly recommend. Thanks, Louise. So sweet of you. She's a genius. What can I say? So glad that she's in my life, and I'm so glad you all are here. And by the way, you really are inner circle when you do join this course. Like, we're constantly thinking of you. We're constantly going, should we put that in the course? Okay, yes, right. Okay, yes. And then be sure to tell that, like, you are our prime real estate. You are our people. And that's why we are so glad to have so many people in it, but also want more people in it, because that fulfills our mission. And I call it selfishness, because it turns us on when we can help you. That isn't a coin term that I made up. It's what Yogananda, who brought yoga to this country back in the 20s, used as a term to explain some aspects of spirituality, which I just loved. I was like, oh yeah, that turns us on. Okay, I had prolapse corrected, which gave me perfect normal bowel movements, but still have some bloating. Laurel's saying, how do I know if my gut is healing and I can start adding foods? It's a huge question for a variety of people. When can we start adding foods, Dr. Siebecker?
The way you know is when you test them and find out how you're doing with them, which is so scary, right? It's so scary because you're afraid of getting a symptom, right? That's where there's those symptomatic relievers that I was discussing in the webinar training are. That's where they're really helpful, because they can bring that anxiety down. If you get, if your bloating worsens, you've got those remedies there for you to help. That's how you have to do it. There's really no magic test, because even if you, like, for instance, you're like, well, my gut is healing. So a lot of people will think, oh, that's leaky gut, right? Oh, so you could do a test for leaky gut and it could show you don't have it. And then you're like, I'm all good. But there's a million other things that can go on. For instance, the motility. If the motility in the small intestine, if the migrating motor complex isn't perfect, then you can get symptoms just from that, whether you have SIBO or not. And the test for that is hard to come by. It's like an inpatient. You have to go to, there's like 4 centers in the US. It costs thousands of dollars, right? So there's no real magic test. You have to just try foods, and here's giving you strength from afar.
Yeah, and that's why the SIBO Diet Masterclass is a couple of hours, and then it's followed by 4 hours of Q&A. It's a total of 6 hours, and we included it here. This is something we sell separately all the time. And this is an example of we're like loading you all up by being a participant in the course. When you're on a proton pump inhibitor, Patty wants to know, is it okay to use a prokinetic?
Yes.
Okay, very good. I know you've had that question for a couple of sessions there, Patty. So I'm glad to have you get that. There you go. I've done 2 rounds of Xifaxan antibiotic and herbal antibiotics, was unsuccessful outcome. Did you test? I'm just curious.
Wait, it was herbal antibiotics and just rifaximin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I just finished the elemental diet. Good. Did the Trio Smart breath test, only to find out that my hydrogen actually went up to 100 parts per million. My own doctor is perplexed as to what's happening with me. Why would my hydrogen levels go up following the protocol? So this is, again, the pissed off bacteria.
I would call that, pissed off bacteria syndrome. So you just have to keep treating. I know how frustrating this can be especially when you do elemental diet, and especially if it was difficult for you to do, to think that, there's more required, but that happens.
Yeah, it does. It's aggravating.
This is where we talk about SIBO being tricky. It can really just take a lot of rounds. But you have a test to show that you have it. I would keep going. I will just say one other thing, which is sometimes we can't move the needle at all. These are what we call tough cases. And sometimes this is due to underlying mold, toxic mold illness, like, living in a moldy building or working there. And MCAS, which is mast cell activation syndrome. Occasionally, it could also be due to an active parasite infection.
Right. Exactly. I want to show you something, another shot of what's in the course, because a lot of you are wondering, wait, what herbal antibiotics, rifaximin, blah, blah, blah. It's another language. Here's the herbal antibiotics. It's 25 minutes. It goes over all of the dosing that's been studied, all of Dr. Siebecker's clinical pearls, because sometimes a study isn't actually what happens in clinic. And sometimes in a clinic is different than what happens in the study. So this is all built in to the course. And then also, Dr. Siebecker, someone had a question about, wait a minute, rifaximin, that's an antibiotic. I thought you could get SIBO from antibiotics. What's going on?
Yeah, great question. We do have, I just want to just quickly say, clinically, we see a lot of people who feel that they got their SIBO after taking antibiotics. I mean, it's common enough that it's got to be true. And we do have one like tiny study. I can't remember the name when it's like preliminary study where it did show that antibiotics, just various antibiotics could decrease the migrating motor complex. Physiologically, that's one of our key underlying causes of SIBO, is when that decreases. So yeah, it can happen. However, the pharmaceutical antibiotics that we use for SIBO have been studied time and again and shown to get rid of SIBO. So they are not making someone get SIBO or making it worse. They are helping. In particular, rifaximin has many, 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 many benefits, and it's extremely unusual. It's called a eubiotic by many, because it has a lot of positive effects, and it doesn't have the typical negative effects of an antibiotic. It doesn't cause yeast overgrowth. It doesn't get rid of the large intestine microbiome, and on we go. I do cover that in the course if you're interested, but the take home is that Xifaxan it's sold as Xifaxan in the US, is not a typical antibiotic at all, and you don't need to worry about it.
Okay. And that really, they have a patient assistance program. I don't think it works for Medicare patients. So you'll have to investigate that. But also in the Facebook group, there are tons of posts about that and support for you there. Okay, it seems like I have slow transit. This is Kathy, but also a redundant colon that has been described as tortuous. Without magnesium citrate, I would most likely be constipated all the time. No SIBO test in a few years, so I'm floundering. I can't get or afford anyone to recommend or believe in testing. I just did get a food marble air too. Any advice?
Oh, perfect. That would have been my advice, is to just go ahead and get the food marble and test yourself. It would be best if you can get lactulose, because you have chronic constipation. I would imagine that your practitioners would not have an issue prescribing lactulose to you as a laxative for chronic constipation, and then you can use it for your food marble test. Also, I just want to note that redundant colon and tortuous colon, those are synonyms. So those are two ways to describe the same thing, which is when the large intestine stretches out, and it stretches out from chronic constipation. And when it becomes long, and then it just has to sort of fold and loop, because where else these extra long portions, they have to fit in our abdomen. So that is a result usually of chronic constipation. And I think it would be a great idea if you test and pursue treatment, because it sounds like you still need it. You still need SIBO treatment. You may need magnesium going on, but definitely do the SIBO treatment, test and treatment. And by the way, if you can't get lactulose, you can use fructose. And we have that. There was a whole wonderful free class we did with Dr. Harlach, where he did in-office testing showing fructose is a really excellent substrate to use for your breath test. And that is in the course. That class is in the course.
Right. So listen, your doctors may not know about SIBO breath testing, but what you will hear truly from some world-renowned experts who this is like all they think about is SIBO breath testing and the substrates, and what doing two of the tests mean, and what, the whole bit. So Jason Harlach's class is in the course, but also because you're signed, oh no, that was till midnight that day. You know what? If you sign up today, let's just go ahead, like it's 1 o'clock Eastern time almost. If you do this before the end of, let's say 1:30, next half hour, let's go ahead and include, and Clarissa, can you make a note that Dr. Jason Harlach different masterclass about what every SIBO patient needs to know about their microbiome and probiotics, because probiotics are another universe, right? I want to make this point. This is so important. Someone wants to ask Dr. Siebecker in the pro course, okay, Dr. Siebecker, I have this program of rebuilding my gut with probiotics, and then I'm going to do a SIBO treatment. And I had originally thought that too. And it's a great, I can see why. It's a great idea, right? But Dr. Siebecker said something very, very interesting that I'll never forget, which I hope you remember.
Not yet, but keep going.
Really relieved me, because what you said was, you actually don't need to have a perfect gut to get rid of SIBO.
Oh, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk about that? Because I think a lot of people are like, let me do my gut restore. Let me get my leaky gut taken care of first, and then I'll do SIBO treatment. But it's really kind of reversed, isn't it?
Yeah, because you're going to go in there with some killers. The way to, the way to get rid of the SIBO itself, and also the IMO, the overgrowth, is, with things that, medicines that kill those overgrowth, the overgrown of bacteria. So it's best to just get that down, and then you can do the restoration that you think you need. However, I do want to just say to you that Dr. Pimentel did some research, stunning research, where he looked at, he's a pioneer in small intestine microbiome research, right? All the microbiome research been done on the large intestine, except now he's doing it on the small intestine. He looked at the microbiome of somebody who's normal, somebody with SIBO. It's disturbed in somebody with SIBO. Obviously, there's overgrowth. Everything's all out of order. Then he gave them rifaximin or Xifaxan, right, which is a killing antibiotic, and the SIBO went away, and the microbiome restored to what it looks like normal. And these people did not get probiotics or anything else, right? So by getting rid of the SIBO, the microbiome restored.
Let's just have a moment of silence for that. I mean, come on. That is so exciting, because that is information that, unless you were at that particular webinar with Dr. Pimentel, you may have missed. And Dr. Siebecker and I have been really talking a lot about that and shouting it from the mountaintops, because it relieves a huge burden of, oh my gosh, now what am I going to do? And of course, I love probiotics. I love my Megaspore. Everyone has a snowflake, totally different microbiome. So please educate yourself about this, and don't just willy-nilly go randomly into the night taking probiotics. The more you know, the more you'll be able to more quickly get well. But clearing the SIBO clears fructose intolerance in most cases, clears food sensitivities in most cases.
Lactose intolerance.
There you go. Right? Like, fixes for some people their iron levels, rosacea, restless leg, the fatty liver, there's a connection. And someone was asking, anxiety. Yeah, it's connected. Also for anxiety, SIBO panic. So a lot of us had SIBO panic or have it, which is a total freak out of everything going on in your life. And I'll speak for myself, and like this ultra control mode where I would just ask, what about this? What about this? What about this? Which actually ultimately made me a better author and better summit producer. But it serves to be a little bit more relaxed. And you know what relaxes me is the right information, not more information, the right information. So I have clarity and I know exactly what to do next. I don't need a fire hose of information to then have to sort it out. And anyone who's ever been to a summit, God bless them, because I love them very, very much. And they have transformed my life and transformed the lives of millions of people. But it is a lot of information, and it's a lot of sorting, and it's awesome. But this is what the course does. SIBO Recovery Roadmap absolutely sorts it, curated, organized. Somebody was just saying about how organized the class is. Thank you, Martina was saying, you're both so well structured. That is almost what I appreciate most of all, because it helps make the SIBO journey a lot easier. This is just live. Thanks, Martina. I didn't even ask for this. I love the roadmap and how you explain things. Allison and Siobhan, you are the super host and organizer, and you have a great team. We do wonderful support. We're small enough, so we actually are connected to you all in a way that is still intimate, in one way to describe it. It's not just this churn. We're not so big that you're just like out there in the world. I pride myself on the customer service that we give. It's not perfect. Okay. Like, we're human beings. If you're rude to my customer service, watch yourself go down to the bottom of the line, by the way. Anyway, but if you're nice, we will go the distance for you. We really, really want to make sure you all get better. And so Debbie, Micheline, Kelly, Robin, Catherine, thank you so much for joining us. We're so excited. We will see you in the course of those Q&As. Be sure to email us your addresses and which book you want. But obviously I'll do my best to get you the book that you want. Okay. So let me get into this here. Persistence is a virtue. You're right, Sue. Important. If we can't get neomycin, have you heard that it's off the market, Dr. Siebecker?
I have not.
Okay, somebody was saying that they don't have access to it. If we can't get neomycin,
it could be insurance or something, which would be very odd because it's almost always covered. Well, Canada used to not carry it, but then they did.
Well, Karen's saying, I can't get neomycin and can't take Flagyl due to reaction. Does rifaximin with Alimed work on methane, or does also adding Atrantil add to the success rate? I'm hoping to try Alinea again, as 2 years ago I did not combine it with rifaximin. Hope they prescribe it again, but if not, want to try the herb combo with pharmaceutical.
Yes, rifaximin and Allison, which we use as Alimed or Alimax Pro. Those are the brand names. Is effective. People use it like that. And in fact, there was a study that looked at that exact combination and found it to be superior, to either one alone. It wasn't on SIBO. It was just testing the effectiveness of antibiotics against bacteria, seeing how well it worked as a killing agent. This is what's called MIC level. They needed to see what MIC level would kill it, and the two together were excellent. So
and what are the two we're talking about one more time?
Rifaximin and Alimed.
Right. Okay, great. That's awesome. Let's see. Sharon, there's more than one breath test for diagnosis. It's all covered in the course. There are 3, and we talk about the labs and how you can get them yourself. TrioSmart is the one from Dr. Pimentel and Gemelli Labs that does all 3. There are, ways to use food marble to assist yourself. There's all kinds of things, and it's covered in there. Agila, I hope I'm saying that right. I have IMO and extremely high levels of antivinculin. Good for you. You took the IBS SMART test. I've been on precalopride or Resilor or Motegrity, all the same, for years, and I've tried multiple rounds of herbals, rifaximin, neomycin, and 2 weeks of the elemental diet. I would feel better and then relapse sometimes within days.
Oh.
So then I got tested and diagnosed with mycotoxins in my body.
I was just going to say, I wonder if there was mold.
I can't yet get house fully inspected, remediated if needed, but now my practitioner has me on mold detox protocol, including compounded pharmaceuticals, sinus spray. Awesome. Makes sense to do that while still living in the house, which may be the source of mold. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Do anything and everything you can. I mean, sounds like you've got a great mold experienced doctor to work with. Oftentimes they'll give people binders, things that bind the mold, the mycotoxins in the body. So yes, that makes sense. And just anything you can do to get out of the environment. I know that Klinghardt has like a spray or an atomizer. This is Dr. Klinghardt, that you can atomize into the air that can help to, I'm so sorry, I don't remember what it's called. You can ask your practitioner about it. So we talk a little bit about mold periodically. Actually, we talk about it a lot more than ever now. We've just done a masterclass on it with Dr. Krista. It's important to address. Okay, let's see. Danielle, I'm 4 months post 1 round of rifaximin. I was extremely high on hydrogen, to a lesser extent on methane. I improved. I now take magnesium carbonate and BioGaia, which is a probiotic shown to help. 2 weeks ago, I started having symptoms again, and I'm feeling better after starting Atrantil. How long should I take Atrantil, and should I follow up with a Prokinetic? She was already on a Prokinetic, right? Didn't she say? No. Nope. Oh, really? God, what did my brain just... I was extremely high on hydrogen. I improved. I now take magnesium and BioGaia. Oh, okay. And no Prokinetic at all. Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I think relapsing at 4 months out with no Prokinetic is really good, actually. That was very good. So yes, add in a Prokinetic.
That's a really good idea to do. How long do you take Atrantil? Okay, so since Atrantil doesn't work as strongly as a killer, it is recommended to just stay on it. So what you do is you use it at like the full label dose. And then once you feel better, you drop down to anywhere from say 1 to 3 a day ongoing, because it continues to stop the production of that methane gas. Dr. Pimentel has said, because he has developed some pharmaceutical treatments that work similarly. In fact, that's what the Atrantil is sort of based on. The hope is that over the long term, it will eventually work to make the methanogens sort of go away if they continue to not be able to make the methane gas and do their normal processes. But we don't know how long that would take. So for now, it's just ongoing.
Okay. I wanted to show you some, hold on for a second. Iberogast, can we just talk about who shouldn't take it and the licorice in it, Dr. Siebecker?
Do you mean the celandine or?
Yes, I think so. Well, somebody said there's licorice in it.
There is, licorice
can,
licorice can cause high blood pressure. I don't think there's any warning on the label for the high blood pressure. It might be in small enough amounts that it's not a concern, although unless you're like super sensitive. But the celandine has caused some issues, and there's a warning label now on it that people with liver disease shouldn't take it.
And also, if you're on an opioid, it said you shouldn't take it.
Oh, on the warning label?
Mm-hmm.
That must be new. I hadn't seen that.
Someone wrote me about that and said, hey, just so you know. So that was great.
That is very odd.
Look it up.
That really interests me pharmacokinetically, and I'm unaware of this, so I'll have to look into that.
Okay. Here are the dates of the upcoming Q&As.
Hey, Siobhan, while you do that, I'm just going to take a
bio break. Okay,
right back.
So we have 20 more minutes till the time that this is where those bonuses are going to start going away, including the Dr. Jason Harlech microbiome, what every SIBO patient needs to know about their microbiome, and probiotics. So there is probiotic information in the course. There is biofilm information in the course as well. And again, it's on sale until midnight tonight. I just hope you'll take advantage of it. It's $298, usually $499. We people buy it at $499 all the time. And we actually don't let anyone buy it right before these special webinars, because we don't want anyone to be like, hey, I just spent $499, I'm not happy. And of course we would have refunded if it was like a day or two before. But this is a special opportunity. We don't do this all the time. We pulse it. I don't know. I can't even remember when our next one is. It's certainly not before the end of the year. I want you to go into 2024 armed and ready to take on your new life of being SIBO free, SIBO managed, whatever your body wants based on what its underlying cause is. But you absolutely can get your life back. You really can. I did. I absolutely did. And it was through this material. And this is all pulled together because of Dr. Siebecker's brilliance, her amazing teaching. And I asked her, I'm like, Dr. Siebecker, remember I wanted to write a book in the very beginning, and I did a summit instead, which was great, reached so many more thousands of people as a result. Then last year, my book came out based on everything I learned. And this course also came out of that request. I wanted to share everything that I had found that worked. And that's what gave me hope. And that's what gave me my life back, as well as the wellness that I have now. So coming up, if you do enroll right now, you have the 7 live Q&A sessions. November 8th is the one that is just for this cohort. So it's a small group. Then you have next week, it's Wednesday of next week. You have that one, the first week of December. We have a couple of months off, April, July, September, November. I mean, hopefully by November, you don't even need it and you're just coming back to spend some good quality time. But, certainly. But we are here for you. Anybody who's been in the previous enrolled cohorts, they're invited to come, not on November 8th. That's just for you all. And it's something that we organically ended up doing. We were like, you know what, let's invite everybody to these Q&As who's ever been in the course. And it's been great because you get this one-time investment, but like now years later, you're able to still come to a Q&A. So these are just marked through 2023. Someone asked like, well, will you be doing it beyond that? I don't see why we wouldn't be, but I don't have the dates for 2024 since I barely know what I'm doing tomorrow. But we were able to both commit to these times. I'm going to say subject to change, but I mean, we're really committed to these dates. And even if you're like, hey, I don't know what I'm doing April 13th at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 Eastern, that's fine. You can pre-submit your questions. So I'd actually look at those dates and make sure you have your SIBO breath test done and that you line up those results getting back by the time, like you're going to have this next Q&A opportunity, because that I think will really serve you well. It could give you a really nice timing guideline. So if you're interested, we would love to have you. I want to say thanks to Teresa for joining us in the course. We're glad you're here. And it's going to be awesome. We also have Summer who's joined us. That's awesome as well. It's going to be a blast, and again, we like to have fun in the Q&As, but we're all business. Okay, meaning that we really are devoted to answering your questions. So Robin, go ahead and email us at info@SIBO.SOS. Can MCAS contribute to SIBO and make it more difficult to treat? Milena wants to know.
Yes, that's the issue with it, really, is it makes SIBO more difficult to treat because MCAS, this is mast cell activation syndrome. It's basically like a more fulminant version of histamine intolerance. It creates sensitivities, not just to foods, but to medicines. And so when we try and give medicines to treat SIBO, a person is reactive to them and they just don't tolerate them. Nothing based, not even, it's not like about die off or it's like it gives them other symptoms and they just can't tolerate it. So we have trouble with that. Which is why sometimes we need to treat the MCAS first so we can then treat the SIBO. And the way we treat it, I'm not an MCAS expert, which is why Siobhan and I keep bringing in all my colleagues who are MCAS experts to give us master classes to all of our people who are signed up into our groups. But the main thing to do is to use symptomatic controllers to calm those symptoms down, and then we can give the SIBO treatment.
Dr. Siebecker, do you find that yeast candida overgrowth happens from SIBO treatments?
No, not typically. There's been some concern that, there are some. So the antibiotic neomycin and metronidazole, those are used for methane. Those can cause yeast overgrowth, absolutely. We don't typically see it because we normally do a 2-week course. We don't typically see that unless a person has a history of it. And hopefully, as a practitioner, you're asking about that. I know you all are patients, but so we know ahead to do things to help prevent that from happening. Some practitioners just give things to prevent that from happening all the time when they're using things like neomycin and flagyl. And then elemental diet. There's been some concerns that elemental diet can cause yeast overgrowth. That's debated in amongst my colleagues. Actually, it's kind of interesting. There are some who say no, they really don't think that ever happens, and others who say yes. So those are the areas. Herbal antibiotics are also herbal antifungals, so they actually decrease yeast, and it's one of the reasons why people react more to them, because they're killing other things besides just bacteria.
Someone is asking about Dr. Pimentel's research and when's it coming out. So Allison and I are meeting with him on November 17th, and we're going to be recording a webinar, podcast, whatever you want to call it, and we'll be releasing it. But believe me, that's on the agenda to ask him. And, it takes time, it takes a lot of time, but I believe he's getting closer than ever before. Thank goodness.
Yeah, we'll email you as soon as we have a date for the releasing of that recording, we'll email it to everybody.
Absolutely. Okay. There's a lot of repeat questions. So Natalia's just saying, just as a public service, neomycin is backordered to most pharmacies in California. Someone else said that it is coming in soon.
I see. So that's why people were saying they couldn't get it. Yeah.
Right. Martina, yes, if you're an enrollee, you've already been in the roadmap class. That's a long time ago. You are eligible for these Q&As. We email you, by the way, saying, hey, we're having one. And they're in the course as well. So go into the course, you can see the dates. Not the one for November 8th, because that's just for this cohort. But yeah, you've got 6 more to come. Okay. I don't know what the neomycin story is because it's not available in the UK either. Okay. Rebecca, can LDN, low-dose naltrexone, and 5-HTP be taken together? I'm hesitant to take a natural prokinetic due to ginger and reflux issues. Right, ginger, if you have reflux, is bad. I tolerate iberogast if taken only occasionally. So it's really about LDN and 5-HTP. And by the way, if you don't know what those are, they're explained in the course, but Dr. Siebecker, if you touch on that, please.
Yeah, absolutely fine to take those together. Absolutely.
Okay. And LDN changed my life. If you don't know about it, go to the ldnresearchtrust.org. It is immunomodulator, dopamine helper. How's that? That was
Anti-inflammatory.
Yeah.
They use it for, I don't even want to say all the things they use it for.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
huge. Iberogast doesn't have deglycerinated licorice. I'm not sure.
Right. Yeah, that's right. It just has normal licorice. That's right.
Okay, great. Is there an equivalent mold expert out there like Dr. Siebecker? Would you say Dr.
Oh,
Krista?
you mean like, yeah.
Equivalent.
So, there are many. Dr. Jill Krista is one. I don't know how heavily she's practicing, but she has trained many people, and she has a list of doctors on her site. Dr. Ami Kapadia, however, again, she is now not seeing patients for that anymore, but we offer her trainings. Some of the other big ones are Dr. Neil Nathan. I don't know how many patients he's seeing. Most of these people are now training others.
Yeah. So someone just said
Dr. Ann Hill, she still sees patients. I mean, she probably has a big waiting list.
And does telemedicine. Gila said, I purchased Dr. Krista's mold talk, but it seemed very dense. And I was wondering if I accidentally bought the one for practitioners. No, you didn't. If you paid $50 for it, it was.
Do you know what? I asked her to make everything be in patient language, and we must have gotten our wires crossed because it was really in doctor language. And I was like, oh my God, when she was giving the class. So sorry about that. Somehow our wires got crossed, but really good information in there still.
Seriously good information.
But Dr. Kapadia she does a mold one. I think we're going to be.
That's only in our library at SIBO SOS. She does not want to take mold patients. And so she is not wanting us to really promote that class.
No, I think she is. Well, I think she did it for practitioners, but you can take it as a patient. You just know she's not available to take patients, but we will, yeah, it's in SIBO SOS, and we'll send some emails about that.
Yes. Oh, okay. I think we're talking about two different things. What you said.
Dr. Kapadia's mold. She has a mold and yeast course. The reason I bring it up is she's very good at making it understandable and simple. She's found her approach to treating mold is much more simplified and has been successful. So
Diane, that might be something for you to look at. I got confused for a second there. Okay. Let's see. I already did that one. I know you guys have such great questions, and I want to say thank you so much for being here. And I know we're getting a little bit, so we're going to go for 10 more minutes. Okay. So in these next 10 minutes, if you're interested in the course, go for it. That will be the time where we'll also release all those handouts and that bonus from Dr. Ann Hill, who you were just talking about, on the liver detox interview I did with her for the Liver Gallbladder Rescue Summit, which was fantastic. I have a few more books left. I know we've got a lot of people who've been signing up, and I haven't been paying attention because I've been wanting to get to your questions. So we're at 11-minute countdown. We'd love to have you. And remember, you're getting those 7 different Q&As where we don't talk about anything else but you and your Q&As. Okay. Chronic. Oh, I want to talk about adhesions, Dr. Siebecker, because someone was talking about they've had the colon resectioned and then they felt like they had SIBO from there. So what do you want to talk about in terms of adhesions and abdominal surgery? And also that would be great.
Abdominal surgery is a common cause of adhesions. I mean, I think it's kind of a universal cause of adhesions. Maybe not everybody, but not all adhesions will cause SIBO. So adhesions are basically scar bands, and any kind of abdominal surgery can create them. And then what they can do is just sort of pull and create tension and misshape the intestines, so to speak, where there can be blockages or obstructions. Not a full obstruction, things can still go through, but a partial obstruction, where say that the intestinal tube is now narrowed, and then bacteria can accumulate above this area because they can't pass through as well. So adhesions are probably the second most common cause of SIBO, maybe, after food poisoning, because they're so common. Adhesions are so common. We can get them from sports and, all kinds of things. So you just treat the SIBO as you would any other, all the same things. And then there are all sorts of methods for dealing with adhesions, which I believe we cover in the course.
So an adhesion is an internal scar, guys. So it's after surgery, knits you back together, which is beautiful. It's those collagen links, but it also can move your small intestine out of place, which can lead to a dysregulation of your migrating motor complex, which is that sweeping motion Dr. Siebecker talked about to get rid of the small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, right? So we don't talk about adhesions enough. We need to talk about them more because they are so important, as Dr. Siebecker just said. There are treatments, we do cover them in the course. And if you haven't been able to figure out your underlying cause, if you have taken the IBS SMART test, it's definitely worth investigating. So thanks to Linda, Vicky, Teresa, Bill, Barbara, and Robin. We'll look forward to having you there. Fantastic. Be sure to email us at info@SIBOSOS so I can get you a book. Give me a couple of days to get those books out, but I will get them to you for sure. I have the padded envelopes and I'll just need to get everybody's address labels and we'll be out the door. It will go. I'm very excited for you. And we're happy to have you. So Brittany, I just cleared hydrogen and hydrogen sulfide SIBO from food poisoning. Yes, I currently treating SIFO with
Undicyclinic acid.
Undicyclinic acid for currently. I still have bad diarrhea and gas, so I have to take Imodium or bismuth to stop symptoms for a few days. Is that bad, or is there something bigger going on I should look into? I did have diarrhea and food sensitivities prior to getting SIBO 6 years ago.
Interesting. I think what you're doing is perfect. See if you can clear the yeast and take it from there. Because that's when you want to look into what else, I think the idea would be maybe the yeast was pre-existing, right? If you clear that and you still have the diarrhea, then yeah, you have to look for what else was there causing that diarrhea all those years ago.
Okay. Yeah, it's a pain. I'm so sorry. Can you explain the connection between COVID and SIBO? Have you noticed anything, Dr. Siebecker? What are your colleagues and you talking about?
We had Dr. Weinstock do an entire masterclass all on, really long COVID. And he did discuss the relationship between it and SIBO. Siobhan, I'm trying to remember what he said. Did he talk about it affecting the migrating motor complex and motility? Is that something he talked about? I can't recall. He might not have gone into mechanisms. I think he might have actually just showed like a survey of, or like a count of how many had both or something like that.
Yeah, I think so.
I can't recall, but I can tell you that that we know that COVID can affect the gastrointestinal tract. Lots and lots of studies that have come out on that. But I don't think I know the deep mechanism.
Okay. Let's see. Brain fog. What about brain fog? Is it real? Are we all crazy? What's going on? Okay, we've got 6 minutes left, guys. Please make that move. I really, really would love to have you in the course and get you the results you richly deserve.
Actually, it's really good for people who have brain fog, which is a real thing, because it's all there. You can constantly go back to it because, when we have brain fog, most of us has probably experienced brain fog. You can't think clearly and you can't remember, right? And so it's so great to be able to have a source you can look things up. Brain fog is real. I've been so glad to see studies coming out on it and validating that it's real. And it is a symptom that SIBO causes. It's also a symptom yeast causes. Of course, the symptoms are similar between the two, yeast overgrowth, but yeah, it's real. And the best way I know how to deal with it is to get rid of the SIBO.
Yeah. Orlando is saying, hi, I'm on my pharmaceutical round of antibiotics. When I finish, I want to do the elemental diet no matter how I feel. Should I wait 2 weeks, like you said in one of the videos of the course, or can I start it right away?
The waiting of the 2 weeks is the opportunity to actually assess how you feel. Since you want to do it no matter what, you wouldn't really have to wait. Also in the 2 weeks, we typically do our retesting. So, we see how we feel off of the treatment we were just on. We retest, we get those results back. And then that helps us decide what we're going to do next. But since you've already got it decided and you don't want to wait to see how you feel, you can start it right away.
There you go. And also, you don't have to, some people are saying, hey, I'm getting my SIBO breath test. I won't have time to do this until after Thanksgiving. You're getting instant access to the course. So don't worry about the timing. Dr. Siebecker and I in the beginning dripped it out in the first time, as I recall. And we were just like, you know what? Let's just give it to them. Everybody's in a different place. Let's just let everyone have at it. So we do not want you to be, I just signed up for a course and it's getting dripped out once a week. I'm like, okay.
No, you can just go to whatever section you want.
Right. So if you have Ehlers-Danlos, which is a collagen genetic, I don't want to call it a disorder, it's a condition. It means you have laxity in your body, like think Cirque du Soleil, but that can also impact your organs. Brad's saying, I have Ehlers-Danlos and it causes my symptoms to be irregular. I keep retaining fecal matter while C. diff positive and had to use a colonoscopy prep 3 times to avoid toxic megacolon. I'm so sorry.
Oh,
Assume EDS, Ehlers-Danlos, can cause irregularities with SIBO IMO as well. Right.
Ehlers-Danlos is an extremely common cause of SIBO. The majority of people with Ehlers-Danlos have SIBO. I mean, they're sort of like, unfortunately, linked at the hip. It's a forever underlying cause of SIBO. I'm sorry to say, but there's really very good management that I've seen with people with Ehlers-Danlos. You do have to, be on a prokinetic all the time. There will be relapses just as when there's chronic SIBO, and you retreat at those times.
Okay, we are done in 3 minutes. If you want a book, Annette, I am so glad you just signed up because you've had such great questions and I know you're in the thick of it. And I was like really going to special message you and just say, Annette, you really need to get in this course. I know what you all are going through. Dr. Siebecker knows what you're going through. On the 8th of November, there's a small group Q&A. The groups are never that big, but then there's another one for all students of the SIBO Recovery Roadmap next week on the 26th. You can pre-submit your questions. You want to get in there with your questions, work the plan. But you know what? If you are like, Siobhan, I'm so tired, I'm so overloaded, I want you to play the course in the background like you would play music at a dinner party. Not saying you have to play the course at a dinner party, but what I am saying is just play it in the background and just absorb the information. If you feel like, oh, wait a minute, that I want to know that, then go sit down and watch it or read the transcripts, because I've also bought courses in the past that I, embarrassingly never opened up. That's not the point here. We want you to use this course. We also know a lot of people don't have time just to sit there and be like, okay, well, I'll take the next 2 days off and I'll just do this. Right. Maybe it's an hour every week. Maybe it's just 15 minutes here and there, but those short lessons are designed for that so that you can get in and get out. So Gloria, Teresa, Annette, as I just mentioned, thank you so much. Go ahead, Clarissa, Sharon, look up. She just posted the link to sign up. So join us for the SIBO Recovery Roadmap. There it is. It's $201 off, and you enroll today before midnight Eastern. You're also, I just added this, the Dr. Jason Horlock Microbiome and Probiotic Masterclass is coming your way. And if you sign up like really right now and you email us, I'll see if we have some books left and I'll offer up to you what we have. In the United States, I'll mail it. If you're outside the United States, let me see what I can do about getting you a digital copy, but we would love to have you. It's a very special course, and it's an opportunity for you to move forward and get better. Oh my gosh. That is the key, right? Doing something proactively every single day and being organized about it. Dr. Siebecker, how many times have you had people come to you when you were, so busy in your clinic and practicing remotely, where it was like, oh, well, that's good that you're doing that, but you need to be doing this, or wait a minute, don't do that now. The timing, I mean, talk about that, the blind spots that are out there. And
yeah, I mean, I would say that that's the majority of people that I saw. Because I'm a specialist, it was people who had already been undergoing SIBO treatment and it was failing. And so they came to a specialist to figure out why. And it's like usually just one thing needed to be done. There might've been 1 or 2 missing steps. And I discuss all of the steps in the roadmap course. That's why we made the course, is to empower you to help yourself and to do this with your doctors. So you don't miss any steps. And each little timing of everything can be important. I discuss all of those things. The key thing with the timing is you don't want to let big lapses go by when you're in the process of treating. You don't want to like do a treatment and then 3 months later do another treatment. You can, but you just do it. Just continue to do your multiple rounds until you get that negative test, and it's worth it.
It really is. It really is. Okay, go ahead, Clarissa, as promised. Go ahead and put the links for those of you who stayed to the end. Thank you so much. Go ahead and put those in there. Sign up with us. I'm going to let Dr. Siebecker go. I'll hang out for a little bit because I just want to like keep the window open a little bit longer for those of you on the fence. There's never been a better time other than yesterday to sign up for this course. And I feel 1,000% comfortable saying that. I got that line from an MBA presenter from the University of Florida, Dr. Siebecker. David, my husband, got his MBA as a grown-up, and we went to like this, webinar in person at the like Ramada Inn. It drove an hour to get there, and he did a great job describing, the program at the University of Florida and all that. And at the very end, he asked, when is a convenient time for you to sign up for your MBA? And the answer was never. It is never convenient to have SIBO. It is never convenient to not feel well. When is the best time to sign up for it? Would have been like yesterday, last year, whatever, but you're here now. And I really want you to take advantage of this opportunity. And it is an opportunity. You have no risk. There is 30 days money back guarantee. We really ask that you do your due diligence and you're not just like changing your mind randomly, but that you really take this opportunity with this nudge, this kick in the tush, so to speak, this hug, and this push to take your power and do it right and stop guessing and stop being almost on your track, because there is a method. There is a way that is proven. There is a program that is validated, and it is this method. Is it the only one? I don't know. It's been the most effective that Dr. Siebecker and all her peers have been using. I see people out on the internet talking about, they're obsessed with the low FODMAP diet, God bless them. And their whole community is based on IBS, right? And low FODMAP. And no one is talking about, no one is talking about the underlying cause or that it might be SIBO. And it makes me berserk because I was in that cycle before I realized that there was a breath test and I could get tested and I could figure out my underlying cause. I mean, the FODMAP cookbooks that I have are innumerable, the blog posts, the groups and everything. I was just stuck in the cycle of low FODMAP.
Yeah, it's like people basically are, coming in at this point or this point, but there's a whole thing, there's a whole step. So it's like they're just obsessed with maybe one step or one like level or hierarchy aspect of the treatment, but you need to see all of the systematic levels that you need to incorporate all together. Don't just get stuck at one.
Clarissa, are you able to post the handouts link? So, yep, perfect. Oh my gosh.
Okay, so Siobhan, I'm going to go. Goodbye, everyone.
Bye,
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much. I'll talk to you later. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. Sherry, if you're the anonymous attendee that purchased the course and got an error around 10, can I get the bonuses once fixed? That's weird that you got an error around 10. Email us at info@sibosos.com and we would love to help you. Issy, I have had literally multiple hundreds of questions, so I did my best to be able to get as many as possible that I also felt would answer a lot of other people's as well. If you are in the course, yes, you can pre-submit. You will get an email with a form that gives you time to pre-submit your question. And all of the dates for the future Q&As are in the course. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us. If you're wondering what SIBO is, it's small intestine bacterial overgrowth, what we've been talking about for the past hour and a half and the other webinar. So not sure what that's all about, but glad you're here. Nice to spend some time with you. And let's see. So Pam, I didn't see your question. I mean, literally, you guys, it's overwhelming. This is why we do this. And this is why in the beginning, we just did a couple of Q&As and we added more And we just kept adding more. And then we're like, yeah, but we got to invite the old people, the people that joined us ages ago, because we wanted to continue to support them as well. So that's why we did that. So I really appreciate you being here. Oh my gosh, my heart goes out to all of us who've had this and who have it, and we want you to get well. You know, I have testimonial after testimonial. I didn't want to take up a lot of time today looking at those because you've seen it. Bad breath, what you can do about bad breath. I did want to recommend this, was a question. This is the new product from Microbiome Labs, the enzymatic mouth freshener. And it's literally enzyme that you chew that helps get rid of bad breath. And it really works. So that's what I would suggest. Think about it. It's a big tube and it is effervescing what is in your gut. Yeah, it is an issue for a lot of people. Would intermittent fasting or fasting alone be helpful to reduce the quantity of bacteria and possibly reduce all the symptoms? That, okay, I wish Dr. Siebecker was here for this, but I'm going to answer that. So I haven't seen fasting fix SIBO. What I do know is that meal spacing of having no food in your, no calories consumed for 4 to 5 hours allows the migrating motor complex to work to sweep the bacteria out of the small intestine. So it increases your motility and it helps with keeping the bacteria load down. So fasting, I've always wondered, like, is one of the reasons I know about the phages and all that. One of the reasons why a lot of people do well on it is because they're really allowing their digestive system to rest and to work and to have that sweeping motion. So that is something to think about. But I haven't seen fasting work for SIBO as an ultimate answer. Also, if that's not your, if your blood sugar's off or whatever, you know, that can be a tough road to hoe. And that's also where really you need some professionals to help you with that, depending on your health history and background. I know that there's some really cool books about it and that kind of thing, but that's just not our, that's not our focus, if that helps you. Okay. Are you ready? 1:38, gone 8 minutes longer. Wanted to say thank you so much for being here. And we do hope to see you in the class. So tonight, thanks to Adriana as well, another Annette, that's great. Marcia, Marcy, thank you to Shavana, Dr. Siebecker. Yay, you're welcome. Owner, it just says owner to everyone. Go, if you bought the course, email us at info@SIBO.sos. So thank you. I'll share your thanks and gratitude. Joanne, Eleanor, welcome. Eleanor, my aunt's name was Elnora. It was another great name. My mother's name was Annette. If you are into names, I certainly am. It's great to have you. Oh gosh, Micheline, we're definitely thinking of you and your daughter. Yeah, it's the struggle is real and there are answers and there is hope. So join us tonight. The discount expires. We want to see you at those 2 Q&As this next week in November 8th. And we really, really appreciate you. So even if you weren't joining the class, that's fine. We're glad you're here. Hope we got some support for you. And also the webinars and the Q&A, which is just a brief period here, are also getting put into the course tonight at midnight. So those will be coming down, but we will try to get this Q&A out ASAP, like in the next couple of hours. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you very, very much. Bye. Clarissa, thank you so much.